All right, WWE Evolution number 2, the second Evolution pay-per-view of all time. It's in the history books. A little bit late on the review. I got caught up in some other things. I did see the entire show though, and the show had some pretty interesting surprises. Some that were maybe predictable, some that were not. So I want to go through the card. There wasn't anything big on the card as far as angles go. So the majority of my review of this show will mostly be on the matches and the outcomes and how I think the booking's going to go. So they didn't do any big angles or any, I mean, there was one big angle at the end, but there wasn't anything like, there was no segments or anything like that that was not wrestling. It was mostly just matches, promos, video packages, and then matches, and that it was just very, very simple. So we open for the Women's Intercontinental. Becky Lynch, Bayley, and Lyra Valkyria. They were tasked with starting off the show hot. They did. Bayley and Becky Lynch have incredible chemistry in there. Lyra Valkyria, although she's newer onto the main roster when compared to the other two, she fit right in. I mean, this is a talent. Lyra is a talent that is far and away beyond what anybody would have ever guessed, I would say. And she picked up the business very quick. And she also picked up on how to be a veteran pretty quick. So, because she hung in there. This was the second longest match on the show, but it was really, really good. Becky Lynch, really, Lyra was the babyface in peril for this. Bayley had that spot a little bit, but she also kind of worked heel a little bit. Not entirely, just, Lyra was the super face. Bayley was just kind of mad at Lyra. And Becky Lynch was the heel. And she ends up retaining the title. Becky Lynch pinned Bayley with a roll-up when she was trying to hit the rose plant. Well, actually, no. Bayley was going to hit Valkyria with the rose plant, and then Becky Lynch rolled her up. So the feud can continue still. Like, this three-way match, I don't think has changed anything. I think we still need to see more from Bayley, Becky, and from Lyra, because the feud was not closed here by any means. And it shouldn't be. It should not be. Now, we then had for the NXT Women's Championship, JC Jane defending against Jordynne Grace. Jordynne Grace, of course, a new member to the main roster, well, to the NXT roster, after being the top woman in TNA. She appeared both in last year and this year's Royal Rumble matches, and she wound up becoming a member of the main roster this year, and this is her big shot. Now, I was for sure thinking that Jordynne Grace is going to win here, because I feel like her moving up from TNA to the NXT roster is just going to end up with her getting the title, because Jordynne Grace is already ready. Jordynne Grace, I feel, is already ready to go on the main roster on the Raw or SmackDown. Like, I think because she's so experienced, they've worked all that out. But maybe that's why she didn't win. Maybe they want JC Jane to be champion longer to improve her in-ring skills. I don't know. She's pretty good. But Jordynne Grace came out with Blake Monroe, who, of course, is the former Mariah May. And I'll tell you what, man, I'm going to probably call her Mariah May for a while before I get used to this Blake Monroe name. Blake Monroe sounds like one of those generic 2009 FCW names like Lucky Cannon and Tyson Travis, or what was it, Tyson Tarver? There you go, Tyson Tarver, who became Michael Tarver. They just had really generic names, and that's what that sounds like. But I wish she was still Mariah May, but that is part of her real name. And what happened was she hit Jordynne Grace with the title belt, and at first people thought maybe it was a miscalculation, but no, she meant to do it. and she does this kind of sexy like thing, like, did I do that, with her like lips, and then just walks off as like Jalen, Jason, like her crew was just looking at her. You know what I'm saying? So, Blake Monroe is a heel. Let's keep her that way for a while. Mariah May's best work in AEW was as a heel and as being Tony Storm's, partner. So, or not partner, her rival after being partners. So I do think that she should be a heel, and that was good casting. We then had a four-way for the WWE Women's Tag Titles. Originally, I believe they wanted to do Liv and Raquel against the Bellas, but they wound up just putting Nikki Bella in the Battle Royal and swapping Liv for Roxanne Perez. So maybe they were always going to do the four-way just with Roxanne. I don't know. I just know that I heard that it was going to be Liv and Raquel against the Bellas. That was what they wanted to do. That's what I heard a while ago. But Liv got hurt on Raw real bad. It didn't look that bad, but it's like Seth Rollins' injury last night at Saturday Night's main event. It didn't look that bad. It wasn't like you could visibly see like a muscle tear or see like a bone fracture. It wasn't one of those things you can see, but obviously something happened because of the amount of pain they were in. And of course, they wound up really being injured. So there you go. And yes, I did pause the Liv Morgan spot multiple times to see, and it still didn't look like it was all that bad. But she's out for a while. Roxanne is, of course, replacing her. They went up against Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, Sol, Ruka, and Xena, and the Kabuki Warriors. I'm very happy to have the Kabuki Warriors back as a tag team. That I have so many fond memories of the Kabuki Warriors being a team in NXT when they were the women's tag team champion. I think 2019 is when that was. I have such fond memories of that. And to be honest, part of me was kind of rooting for them to win this, but I think they had to let Roxanne and Raquel win because they have to establish Roxanne as the Rio replacement for Liv. And I think Roxanne will also replace Liv when it comes to being Dominic Mysterio's girl, because I do think that that's going to be a storyline when Liv comes back. It'll be the same thing they did with Rhea Ripley, but this time Liv will be in the Rhea role and Roxanne will be in the Liv role. Like, that's long-term booking that I'm sure they have planned. But they won, and this match was pretty exciting, man. It was weird because Charlotte Flair has always been in big singles or three-way main events on these shows, like on these types of pay-per-views. Not Evolution, but like, the pay-per-views that have like more than just 5 matches historically. But it's good they put her in this match. And what's weird is the crowd really popped for Charlotte. I mean, it was weird because, as you know, Charlotte has not been received well since coming back, getting tons of boos in major cities. But here she got a massive pop. So I don't think they should turn her babyface or anything like that. You don't want to drastically think that. But I do wonder if some of the fans are maybe moving past the whole Tiffany Stratton thing, and maybe they want Charlotte to kind of be like this vintage act for them. I don't know. But she did get a huge pop, and that did surprise me. Tiffany Stratton versus Trish Stratus for the WWE Women's title. This is a match that everybody knew the outcome going in. There's no way Trish is going to win the title. She's not a full-time member of the roster. In fact, to be honest, she didn't even earn this title shot. Like, her title shot's kind of like Goldberg's. Like, she's a legend, and they're going to give her one last shot. But Goldberg didn't beat anyone to get that shot. He just was awarded it, So, it's, I might do a video about some of the lazy booking that's gone on. Because yes, there have been injuries that have hurt WWE's booking. Yes, The Rock has majorly hurt the booking and the plans they had going forward with his changing of his mind. But I feel like Triple H's booking is really, I think, faltering. I'm not saying it's going to always be like this. I hope that it does improve. But comparing 2025 to the past 2 years, it's just not even close. But the match was good. Trish looked great. Incredible shape. Incredible shape. They showed a lot of I want to mention, they did show a lot of women on the show, like from the past. Alundra Blaze, Molly Holly, Melina, people who, Maurice, women who have been important to WWE. They actually found Leilani Kai, and she competed at WrestleMania 10 and WrestleMania 1. And she's one of the very, 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 very few performers from WrestleMania 1 who's still alive. Look at the list of people who wrestled on WrestleMania 1, and it's a very small number that are still with us. Hulk Hogan is still with us. Mr. T is still with us. Tito Santana, we've got a few still with us, but a lot of them have passed away. She looked good. Tori Wilson was there. She looked great. I love Tori Wilson. I had a huge crush on her back in the day. I mean, it's Tori Wilson, bro. So what can you do? But the match was good. Tiffany won clean. It couldn't have gone any other way. Jade, Cargill, and Naomi in a no-holds-barred match. Bianca became the guest referee, which, to be honest, was weird. Why do you need a guest referee in a no-holds-barred match? I know that she has history with those two women, but it's not like a regular ref wouldn't be enough. I guess maybe in case the ref got knocked down, because one of the things I noticed, and I didn't notice it myself, I was told, and now it's the truth, is the amount of ref bumps that we see in main events now, both WWE and AEW, is gotten to the point where it's ridiculous. I think we saw ref bumps in every single main event of every pay-per-view this year from WWE, except for like the Rumble and multi-man matches and stuff like that. But like with 30 guys, that's not gonna happen. But I mean, besides that, like, there's always ref bumps, and it's weird. But I'll talk more about that later. This was Jade Cargill's best match of her career. End of story. It was better than anything she did in AEW. It's better than her WWE run. The spots they set up, the way they did them. She went through a table at one point. They used chairs. They had some pretty nasty, risky bumps too that she did good. Like I said, this is the best Go out of your way to see this match. I know some of you probably are going to skip this show because it wasn't really like heavily promoted, because it was like a last minute thing to mess with AEW. And yes, that's exactly what it was. You can play games if you want to. They stacked this weekend to hurt All In. And they're doing it again because they're going to do Heat Wave NXT on the same night as Forbidden Door, which is also during the day. Like, they're doing it on purpose, dude. Like, I'm not defending Tony Khan. Lord knows I wouldn't do that. Or AEW. But WWE's doing it on purpose. Just that's the way it is. But they try to make the best of it with this show, and I'm actually glad they did it because this was a great show. So, but you should go out of your way to see this match. Jade Cargill wins again. This time, they were both in the top rope struggling, and I was a little bit worried if they were going to actually hit the spot right. But she hit the Jaded from the top rope on Naomi through a table and got the pin to win the match. So the feud at this point should be over. And at this point, what I'm guessing they were going to do, now hear me out. I'll talk about the main event in just a moment. But what I was guessing they were going to do is I was guessing that they were going to have Naomi cash in on Tiffany, or they were going to have Jade beat Tiffany at the next pay-per-view, SummerSlam, and then Naomi cashes in on Jade and gets her win back, and then we have a new feud between Naomi and Jade Cargill to continue later in the year. I have another theory now, which I'm going to get to at the end here, so bear with me. But at this point, that's what I thought, because, you know, Naomi losing again to Jade Cargill, you know, she has to get a win back at some point. Like, I know that they're trying to book Jade Cargill as being unbeatable, but she has to get her win back at some point. Like, they can't do it forever. So I think we'll see it, but I'll get to that later. We had this Evolution Battle Royal, 20 women. The winner gets a world title match at Clash in Paris. They didn't say which title, but they said a world title match. And Stephanie Vaquer won. Now, another thing that I didn't say on video, but maybe I should have, one of the things I said a couple days ago was that I thought that, you know, right now the most popular women's wrestler in WWE is Rhea Ripley. She has overtaken Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch at one time was the, no pun intended, linchpin. She was the most popular wrestler on the women's roster in WWE in 2019, 2020, even when she came back. And then, you know, you had other ones, but she was like the top, by a long shot, she was the most popular. Rhea Ripley in the past couple of years has become that. And I said that the next one after Rhea Ripley is probably going to be Stephanie Vaquer. That being said, I did not think she was going to win here. I thought they were going to do a slower build. But no. They are putting the rocket and giving Stephanie Vaquer a massive, massive push. She can't even speak English all that well. She even said it at the press conference. And this era of WWE doesn't care about that as much because she really is extremely talented. And that's saying something in a roster that is absolutely loaded with great women. And if you disagree, watch this show. Because I'm going to say this right now. Mercedes and Toni Storm had a tremendous match at All In. But I think the main event of this show and probably the opener, the Lynch, Bayley, Lyra match, I think both those matches actually beat the Toni Storm against Mercedes match. I think. But it's just tells you how great WWE's women's roster is. Stephanie won, and she did a promo that was half English, half Spanish, saying that the best language, her first language is wrestling, and that's what matters most. I know that when she does that move with her booty, I know that when I watch that with my friends, usually we just stop talking and look at that spot and then start talking again and just stare at it. If I'm the only one, please let me know. But she's a tremendous wrestler, and I think she's the next one. I think she is going to be insanely popular when the time comes. I do think she's on her way. So, who's she going to face, though? I guess we'll find out after SummerSlam. Final match of the night. It was Io Sky, Rhea Ripley for the WWE Women's title. The Women's World title, that is. I really genuinely thought that this was the night that Rhea was going to get the belt back. I don't think Rhea Ripley was ever even supposed to lose that title to Io Sky. I think that was the last minute change. Because, you know, we had heard it was going to be Rhea Ripley and Bianca, with Bianca as the heel, and that whole thing got scrapped. So they went with the three-way, and then, you know, they decided to give Io a bit of a longer run because, you know, she kind of earned it. I mean, Io has worked very hard, and this night included, but that was not what happened. That's not. Well, I mean, she got a. Okay, Io's run work wise was great, match wise was great, but she had no storylines. That feud with Bianca and Rhea was kind of shit because we kind of knew they were going to do the 3-way anyways. And they tried to convince us they weren't, but you knew they were. And then she hasn't had any real storylines since WrestleMania, so her title reign I don't think is that great. But I really thought that Rhea was going to win. So they're out there and they're having a tremendous match. Reversals. They're, trying to hit their finishers. We saw everything. We saw moonsaults. We saw Riptide. There was a ref bump. Once again, does every main event have to have a ref bump? And we're gonna look at this, guys. We're gonna look at this in the next few weeks and months to see if every main event has a ref bump, because I feel like the likelihood is pretty high that we're gonna see that, and that's not something you saw all the time back in the day. So what happened was they teased Rhea Ripley hitting the super Riptide, the atomic Riptide from the top rope, but what ended up happening was it was countered into a Spanish fly. And I was like, oh, I really thought that was the finish. It was awesome. And then Naomi's music played. And I got mad, and I'll tell you why. It's illogical to cash in to make the match a 3-way when what you should do, if you're smart, is let them kill each other. Let them destroy each other. Then after the bell is when you cash in. And as the babyface is recovering, or whoever wins the match is recovering, then you nail them. Because it makes more sense to do that. They're going to be more tired. They're going to be more beaten up. It's easier. She made it a 3-way. In a 3-way, anyone can pin anyone. I just feel like it was dumb. They could have done it a different way. But the reason they did it this way is probably because they didn't want to do 2 title changes in one night back to back like that, even though they've done it before. So that's my guess. So Naomi cashed in and was successful. She leaves the show as the women's world champion, which means that she is going to Raw now. Now you could say to yourself, okay, they're going to do Jade, Cargill, and Naomi for the title at SummerSlam. I don't think so. I do not think that's happening. I think, this is my guess, that they're going to have Tiffany against Jade Cargill, and they're going to have, on the other side, I think they're going to do Naomi versus Bianca Belair. That's my guess. Or they might do Naomi versus Rhea, or Naomi versus Io Sky, or Naomi versus all 3 of them in a 4-way. But I think what they're going to do is, now that Jade beat Naomi, they're going to keep them apart for a while. And then maybe next year, maybe even for WrestleMania, they can then bring them back together and then do another series of matches. That's what I think they're going to do now. I don't think they're going to have Jade go after Tiffany. I'm sorry. I don't think they're going to have Jade go after Naomi. I think they're doing this on purpose to kind of rebuild Naomi to go back to this feud down the road. Because it's weird when like somebody loses on a pay-per-view and then they cash in later in the night. It's not like unheard of. I mean, that could happen under the weird, wacky, like in canon world of WWE. That could happen, right? But it doesn't, it's still weird, like, booking wise, like they lost, but now they're on top. It's a good, Money in the Bank is a very easy way to rehab a loss, or to take a mid-carder and make them a main eventer, or to put somebody who's not in the main event position in the main event position. So that's great. that is to me, I think they're going to do that. Now, I also want to make another prediction. With Seth Rollins being injured, I think that they were supposed to have, this is my guess, I think they were supposed to have Punk and Roman against Seth and Braun Breaker at SummerSlam. I think that with the Seth injury, they announced a gauntlet match for Raw where the winner faces Gunther, and I think CM Punk is going to win this. I think that the plan to have Punk and Seth wrestle either singles or with Roman, I think they're changing it. I think Punk will win and challenge Gunther, and they may do Roman and Braun as a single, which I would love to see that. It's a 2-night show, and they've got 3 weeks to build up both nights. I don't know if they're going to get everything in on time, so I feel like Raw, like they're going to get everything in, but I don't feel like they're going to have enough time to really fix the storyline. So hopefully it's an all hands on deck show. That way they can get focused and get it done. Anyways, those are my thoughts on Evolution and my prediction for Raw. Let me know what you thought. Take care. See you in the next one.